Hi, I watched every single Disney animated movie for some reason and got like way into the history and like business success and failures of the Walt Disney Company for some reason in recent years. And I was fascinated with how they were going to do this year because it seemed like a lot of factors were barreling towards just a big ol' series of failures. Some of which are just because, hey man, you had a whole bunch of successes for a whole bunch of time and you definitely tapped that well until all the oil was sucked up and you had nothing left. So that seemed like it was going to happen in spades this year, especially after the pandemic and the streaming service and all sorts of changes to their business and frankly movie going in general. So let's look at all the movies they did this year and see how it worked and a couple other things. But if you notice the title of this video, it's Disney's No Good, Very Bad Year. So spoiler alert. First of all, let's talk about Bob Iger. Bob Iger led. He was the guy at Disney through a period of tremendous growth, taking over from Michael Eisner and turning the ship around, mainly by purchasing things that people liked and then using those things to make shit tons of money. For example, Pixar. It's your Pixar stayed in house. Marvel, Star Wars, eventually Fox, things like that. He presided over a whole lot of purchases, and it's not to say that they didn't make good movies during this time on their own. They made a whole bunch of animated movies in their in-house studio that did really, really good. So he presided over a period of tremendous business growth. He left. Uh, his successor got to hold the bag when things started not going so well, and then he came back on board. He probably, for his, you know, legacy, shouldn't have come back. But now he gets to hold the bag for partially for decisions he made and things he leaned into maybe too much. Um, he's gotten in fights with the Florida governor, and frankly, the Florida governor is probably the one who picked that fight. But he's got to be that person. He's got to be the person that says really stupid shit during the actors and writers strikes about, how it's a bad time in the industry for a strike and, we can't handle it right now. And it's like, dude, you are making this comment at like a rich person retreat right now, nearby your private plane or whatever. Like, you're fine. What are you talking about? Also, like, you know that strikes happen not in the good times when everyone's making money hand over fist. That's not when you strike because everybody's making money. Unions strike when things aren't going well and you feel like you need more because things aren't going well. Like, that's when it happens. And it happens when technology changes with the entertainment industry. It happened when they started doing movies on TV and actors weren't getting their checks of the residuals. It started happening when home video started happening more and more. Like every time there's a new way of making money for entertainment, there needs to be a way for the people that participated in the making of those things get their slice of the pie too. And that's just the same thing with streaming. So whatever, Bob Iger, like you came back for the ship to jump back on the sinking, not the sinking ship, but like the slowing ship. I guess you could say you came back to jump on the train when it started slowing down, and you have said dumb things. So good job on torching a legacy. But let's go over the movies that came out this year for Disney. And I'm talking Disney, Marvel, whatever. The Disney company owns it, and it's the big movie that came out in theaters, not just on streaming. We're going to talk about it. Ant-Man and Quantumania. Uh, this had a really big drop-off than what it usually does, and frankly, probably did not make money. It cost $200 million to make, and it got a budget. I got a box office of 476, which somehow in movie terms is actually losing money. Like, you need to make roughly 2.5 times your budget, but that's not a hard or fast rule and depends on how much you make, where you make your money. You make more money in the States, you're going to keep more of those profit. You make more money in China, you're going to keep less of those profits. Uh, It's kind of a complicated system, but you just think 2.5. Probably didn't make money. First Marvel movie in a while to probably not make money. Had a huge drop off in its second week. That's not good, bro. And also, people were not happy about it. They were disappointed. Um, that's not a good sign. You don't want to see people disappointed in your movies. So, after that, we had a lot of stuff on Disney Plus. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Guardians of the Galaxy was a movie that people were looking forward to, and I think they enjoyed. And I think it's good that they enjoyed it because they needed to see a Marvel movie they weren't actively disappointed with. It cost $250 million, made $845.6 million. It probably earned a profit, which is good. I have to imagine they wanted to make cross $1 billion, considering they used to do that in their sleep with Marvel movies. Like the Captain Marvel movie made over $1 billion, and that's ridiculous because I don't think many people particularly cared about her. But she was in between Avengers movies, so whatever. People went out and saw it. So when Guardians of the Galaxy didn't get to $1 billion, that's kind of a disappointment. But hey, man, it made money and people liked it, and that's the two things that need to happen when you make movies. So pretty good there. Little Mermaid came out May 26th. I didn't see it. I don't see any of these movies, to be honest. Just don't go to theaters. Little Mermaid made cost 200 somewhere between 240 and $300 million. There's probably mixed opinions there. Made 569 million. Probably didn't make money in theaters. I think the people that saw it pretty much liked it. I think there was a lot of good reviews for the lead actress. I don't ever need to see a Disney remake ever, so I didn't see it myself. But 569 is probably not making money. It's also like a big step down from a lot of the Disney remakes they made. Like Lion King made a bunch. You know, I think Beauty and the Beast made a bunch. I want to say Aladdin was closer to this, but probably more. There was a whole lot of merchandising for this one, and I'm pretty sure they're going to make money off of this. But it does seem like if one of your big IPs was like Disney animated remakes in live action, this was a sign of like lowering business. So it's also like one of the most cherished Disney animated movies of like the Renaissance era. So the fact that this didn't like get a home run, it's probably not a great sign for things like Snow White. We'll see. Next up for Disney this year was Elemental. Elemental was a very interesting performance in theaters. Cost 200 million, made somehow it made like almost $500 million, which is like right on the line of like, hey, is this profitable? Is this not profitable? They've said it's profitable. Not everybody necessarily believes that based on their own information, but and the fact that a higher majority of its money came from overseas probably also means that they're getting less profits than if they made that money in the United States as well. So came out really limping. At the same time, I think Flash did. Flash did better than it, but then Flash dropped like a rock. And it kind of just stuck around in the summertime and did a whole lot of business overseas, especially in South Korea. Um, I think it did like something around 50 million in South Korea by itself, maybe more. I think at one point in time they realized that the number of tickets sold in South Korea meant that statistically 1 out of every 6 South Koreans had seen the movie, which is kind of crazy. And I imagine it involves a lot of repeat viewing, but anyway. It did really well overseas and crept up in its way. And it's actually an improvement over the last Pixar movie. Buzz Lightyear came out and did bad, and this came out and did, hey, pretty good. Silver lining, an improvement of money, maybe even profitable in theaters. That's a good sign. Next for Disney was not good signs. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Again, haven't seen it. Cost somewhere around $300 million. Made $383 million worldwide, which is not great. That translates to lost a lot of money, a whole lot of money. People were not interested in this. They spent way too much on it, and some of that is extra costs associated with the pandemic. But oh boy, that lost a lot. Next, we have Haunted Mansion, the movie that everybody asked for, a second Haunted Mansion movie based on the theme park ride from Disney. And yeah, like Pirates of the Caribbean is based off the theme park ride, but nobody imagined that was going to turn into like the franchise that it became. There were other theme park ride movies they tried to make: Country Bears, Haunted Mansion. I think I'm forgetting another one, but this one was released in the summertime, not the spooky season, and made less than its budget. 150 million is what it cost. 117 million is what is made. Again, that translates to we lost a lot of money on this, and it wasn't good. Um, Nobody asked for this movie, so why didn't they release it in the spooky season? I don't know. Probably because they were releasing something else in the spooky season. Believe it or not, they were releasing A Haunting in Venice through their 20th Century Studios studio. It's all the same company now, but 20th Century, I think they kind of view as being their like more adult oriented, not, adult, more like, older audiences oriented movies. So they had A Haunting in Venice, which is another in the series of what are these called? Agatha Christie novels. This one is a second sequel to, is it Death on the Nile? I don't know if Death on the Nile was the middle one. The first one of this series came out and it did all right, but it kind of hasn't since. One of them was because of the pandemic. This one they didn't spend as much money on, so it only cost 60 million, but it only made 122, which means it probably lost money. I don't know if like it's gonna break even on like rentals or streaming or what. I don't know, but so that's not good. They also helped work on The Creator. The Creator, I don't believe was all them. I think there was some Entertainment One was involved, which I want to say might be owned by Hasbro something. Yes, parent company is Hasbro, and they're trying to sell it to Lionsgate, is what I see, something like that. But I didn't realize this was a Disney movie. I didn't realize the connection. It also didn't make. It barely. It cost 80 and made 104. That's still movie terms, movie math for I lost money, which isn't good. So, well, we've got two movies that made money in the theaters so far. Next one, we have Wish. Wish was a main Disney animated studio movie, as in it's not Pixar. This didn't do well. I was hopeful that it would do well because it looked interesting and it was a kind of a princess movie and seemed like, since people watched Elemental, maybe they would watch this, and it just didn't. It didn't do good. Obviously, it's still in theaters, but and it hasn't opened everywhere yet. But I think the likelihood of it turning a profit in the few territories it has left are pretty low. Unlike Elemental, it kind of dropped really, really high. It didn't have a good initial weekend. It didn't have people come see it later. Its budget was somewhere around the $200 million mark, and it's only made 127 right now. So I really don't anticipate it. I really don't anticipate it doing that great. So I think it's going to lose a good amount of money. And I actually accidentally skipped a movie that I referenced earlier. The Marvels came out a couple weeks before Wish, and it bombed hard. Very bad. Marvel movies cost a lot. This one somewhere in the 220. I see 2010 to 2075, 270, 220 to 275. It's made 200 so far. It's going to lose a lot of money. It's like the worst performing Marvel movie since like before Marvel franchise was a thing. Like maybe maybe there was one like before or after Iron Man that did that poorly, but like it's lost a lot of money. People did not want to see that thing. I had a feeling that this was going to be a problem. I had a feeling that this was going to be like where all the issues that Disney was having with people caring about Marvel and its movies in general just like came to a head, and this was it. Like woof. Barely. It had a very poor opening weekend. It had I think the biggest Marvel drop off ever in its second weekend. Like people didn't care to see this movie, and frankly, the ones that did, I've seen people like really, really like this movie, and I've seen people go, "Meh, it wasn't very good." And that is their movie output of the year. Just a whole two movies that made money, and like not a whole lot. And when you compare them to all the movies that lost like hundreds of millions of dollars, I think I heard somewhere that they had lost like $1 billion off of their movies this year, which is like kind of absurd that you could lose so much money in that, because you're not like, even when you have a hit, like it doesn't make that much money. Like if you have a movie that makes $1 billion in profit, like congratulations, you have one of the most profitable movies of all time, and it doesn't counteract like six failures in one year. So like even if you had something really successful, like it doesn't prop it up. Between the writers and actors strikes and just a general like disinterest, I don't know if they delayed a lot of movies that are coming next year. So I think next year they've got some time to figure it out, and frankly they've got some different things to throw into theaters at this point. So next year it's not like just a whole bunch of Marvel. They actually have a decent amount of sci-fi. They've got Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which was a franchise they picked up when they bought 20th Century Fox. They picked up the Planet of the Apes franchise. My brother's big into Planet of the Apes, but I haven't really seen this franchise. That comes out May 24th, so that's their first big film of the year. They also have Deadpool 3. Sorry, they have Inside Out 2, a sequel to a very popular Pixar movie, which I haven't seen, but I've heard good things about. You would hope that would make money. You would hope big popular Pixar franchise would make money. Like, yeah, Lightyear was a part of the Toy Story thing, but like, it wasn't Toy Story. It was like a character from Toy Story, so it's not the same thing. Inside Out 2 is a direct sequel. You gotta hope that that would do well. But what is well anymore? Like, if it makes money, I think I would be happy with it if I was Disney. Deadpool 3 comes out in July. It is actually now the only Marvel movie of the year, which is probably good for them. They got to figure out what they're going to do, considering A, like their Marvel movies are starting to bomb, and B, the big villain for the next phase of Marvel, like, you know, got was found guilty of assault. It has been fired, so they got to figure out what to do there. I'm really curious what happens in August when Disney released 20th Century Fox releases Alien Romulus, a next sequel in the Alien series. Like I said, they're doing sci-fi this year. I think it's been a really long time since an Alien movie was very profitable and everybody liked. So I don't know if this is going to be that time to turn it around. But Alien Romulus comes out in August, and we will see. They also released something called The Amateur November. I don't know if that is a big budget movie, but it's being released by 20th Century Fox. So, yeah, we'll see. Looks like an espionage thriller. My guess is no, it's not a big budget movie. It's probably like a mid budget movie that they release for more adult audiences, but we'll see. Wrapping up the year for Disney next year is Mufasa the Lion King, the unnecessary prequel to the unnecessary um, live action remake of Lion King. I don't know if it's live action. I guess it's technically animation. It's just hyper realistic to the point that I never needed to see the Lion King movie. But anyway, if you ever wanted to know how Scar got that scar on his face, now you can watch Mufasa, the Lion King. Maybe Mufasa will have given it to him. I don't know. Maybe he'll have ran into a stick for some reason. That is Disney's next year. They got some time to figure out what the hell to do with their Marvel properties. They've got only one animated movie coming out, Inside Out 2, so they don't have to throw another Disney animated movie down the down the blender. They've got an animated remake that or a spin-off to an animated remake, my god, that I feel like has some bomb potential. And they've got some sci-fi big budget movies that I really hope do well, but I'm not holding my breath. So that is Disney's no good, very bad year. They've had to cut stuff from Disney Plus in order to save money. They've had to increase the price of that. They've lost a whole bunch of money in theaters. Their leader, Bob Iger, made himself look like a giant jackass throughout the most of the year. And, you know, the Republican Party, like, kind of hates him for reasons that are weird and I don't totally understand. But anyway, Disney's no good, very bad year. Leave comments below. Disney nerds, don't yell at me.